R32 GTR.
Spec V2.
Spec V2, Tommy Kaira edition, courtesy of Craft Sports in Orlando or wherever they're at. It ended up here. It's a real Tommy Kaira R32. For those that don't know what these are, I don't either, but they're special, and they come with special plates and other things and whatnot. Standard interior. I do know of a set of Tommy Kaira Recaros that exist out in the wild, but these don't have that. This just has the badge and the badges and whatever else Tommy Kaira. It doesn't matter anyway. What are we doing to it? Minor refresh stuff. So timing belt is questionable. Nobody really knows when it was done, if it was done at all. It did come with some service records, but nothing mentions a timing belt. So we're making the grand assumption that it's original. He got all brand new stuff direct from Nissan Japan, OEM stuff. So you ordered it straight from Craft Sports, straight through Craft Sports. Look them up if you don't know. They're a premier GTR, blah, 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 blah. All right, so first thing we're doing is the brakes. He got brand new brakes, his rear rotors. These are likely the original ones. The car's a low mileage car, but the rotors aren't in all that great a shape. So he got brand new V-Spec 2 rotors direct from Japan in the box from Nissan, JDM, Nissan. He got front and rear. So we're gonna get that knocked out first, and then we're gonna move on to the front, and we have to do the axle boots. Once we get the car up, I'll show you what happened, but the axle boots exploded pretty much immediately and made a huge mess. So pulling both axles out, we're gonna do the boots, and then ultimately we're gonna finish off with a timing belt job. Now, see that tape there? If no one's ever seen this before fully intact, there you go. That's what that looks like. For some of you, this is amazing. For the rest of us, whatever, it's a piece of tape. You wouldn't get it. Alright, rotor's off. Pretty standard stuff. I mean, e-brake is the drum part of it. You know, I mean, Nissan does that. I think a few other people do that, but pretty standard on this. Fortunately, his shoes look fine. I mean, he's got a pretty good amount of stuff left on there, so we're not replacing those. Springs and everything look good. It's all good. But you can see on the old rotor here what I'm talking about. Oh, the lip is pretty pronounced. Look at that. That lip right there. And then all the ridges. Very uneven surface on here, and the rotor's just kind of clapped out. Compared to the new one, which is perfect, because it's new. So when it comes to things like slider pins, see, we clean these up basically to brand new. And then we're going to grease them before they go in. And also, whenever we remove brake rotors, we always clean and anti-seize the hub underneath, so that the next time this rotor needs to come off, it's not a battle. Nice and clean on both sides. We'll slide the pads back in, stick the pins in, and then move on to the front. This happened kind of immediately, actually. Like right as he left Craft Sports, this happened. Not saying anything bad about Craft Sports, but stuff like this does happen all the time. I mean, it's not like, I don't know how to describe it, but stuff like this happens all the time. It's typical. It's nobody's fault. It's just the timing of it, of course, sucks. When it happens always perfectly when it's supposed to, you know? But yeah, that's whatever. But we're gonna fix it. We're gonna get these axles out, clean all of this up because it's gross, absolutely disgusting. But we're gonna clean all this up and replace those boots, and then he'll be good. This car has some nice parts on it too. Really nice exhaust. What does that say? It says FGK, whatever that is, but I don't know what it says. It's FGK, and the K looks kind of funny. We're gonna do all four, even though only 2 of them are broken. We're just gonna go ahead and do all 4 because the axle will be off and apart anyway. There's no reason to not just replace them all. So for future reference, here are some part numbers. Front, inner, outer, I don't know, but here's the part numbers. You can figure out the rest yourself, but this is what you need, 1 of each. And they come with everything you need, bands, grease pack, instructions, the boot, of course, everything. It's a whole kit. So working on the axle, drop the under tray, which is still existent and fully intact with all the hardware. But got access to the axle, and you can see how bad the boot is torn. And in fact, it's torn so bad that it doesn't exist. Either that or it's see-through, one of the two. But that's what we gotta do right there. Replacing that boot, this boot, same on the other side. Alright, first axle is done, all the way installed. And I put these super cryptic marks on it so that we know that that bolt is tightened and blah, 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 blah. You know how that goes. So everything is clean, and Neil just got the rotor off. So we get to replace the front rotor now. You can see it pretty clearly.
Okay. Yeah, you can. It is noticeable.
Yeah. So everything is nice and clean, and it was a tremendous amount of work to actually get everything cleaned properly. Way more work than it actually looked, by a lot. The grease extends very far, very deep, and then on top of that, brake clean doesn't exactly get it off. It just sort of wets it so that it still exists. But it's much better than it was. Of course, still have a whole other side to do. This one may be easier because the cavity is a lot more open, but still going to be really annoying. OEM front V-Spec 2 32 GTR rotors. Two of them, fronts. Big boy. One side fully done. Rotor, caliper, everything's back on. End link's back on. Tension arm, axle, tie rod, brake line, all that stuff. Everything's back on. So this one side is completely finished. It's all clean. Everything's mounted up and blah 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 blah, all that kind of stuff. It's all good. Now moving on to the other side. So as you can see, we'll call this the before and after side, because the other one, obviously we didn't film, but you see how much of a mess this side is, how nasty it is. It's goop, it's throw up, it's all this kind of stuff. Axle's all green and everything. Alright, so the way we do it, the lower control arm is like a multi-piece ordeal. But instead of disconnecting, the ball joint or doing the easy thing, what we'll do is we'll unbolt it from here and unbolt it from there, and then as an assembly, this whole V-shaped thing will stay with the knuckle and swing out of the way. Then we're going to do the tie rod end so that we can rotate it, and we're also going to do the sway bar end link so that we can pull the whole knuckle outwards. You don't need to do anything with the brake lines or the caliper, not for the axle anyway. If you're just doing an axle, you don't have to touch brake line, caliper, and all that stuff. It'll all just swing with the whole knuckle, and that's how we're gonna do it. We're gonna do the axle first, and then the brake second. All right, so lucky for us, the boot is already torn. So we were able to pull the front half of the axle out, and Neil's working on the back half now. Hey, look at that. Alright, so super lucky that fortunately all the grease was contained in one location. It did fling in a few different places, but for the most part it's all taken care of. It's all nice and clean now, the way it's supposed to be. So we're checking in with Neil because he's working on safety first. Neil is working on the other end of the axle here. He already cut off the other end. So with these bands, typically we just use the saw and just cut them because it's easier. And it doesn't matter because we're replacing the boot anyway.
So dismantling the axles.
Yeah, how'd you get that part off?
Well, no, this is part that's stuck.
No,
in
that
the
part.
trunk.
That part.
Oh, so there's a C-clip that holds the axle to the. Here we are. Sorry for the mess, but there's a C-clip that holds it. And we use C-clip pliers to remove it, and then this goes into the press with a sleeve to press it off. There's no way you're going to pull this off without pressing it, at least properly, without damaging the bearings. So put it in the press, push the axle out, this stays. You put this on a soft surface like wood, and that's done. That's it. And then Same thing for the other side.
Yeah, but the trick with the other side, instead of having to separate it, you just slide the boot off this way and slide the new boot on that way. So you only have to ever do one end. You never have to separate both ends to replace the boots. Also important, make sure you clean off all the old grease. You don't want to carry none of this old stuff into the new stuff. Alright, both ends are rebooted. So this bottom, so it comes with two different tubes of grease. You got Rare Max and Molly White. The Molly White is yellow and it goes on the inboard one, and the Rare Max is black and it goes on the outboard one. So this one's already been packed, completely cleaned out, and then repacked, and then of course the outer one too, cleaned out and repacked as well. You don't have to use the whole tube. You can if you want, but you don't have to. And then yeah, then it just kind of goes on. Yeah, there you go. Easy. And boom, just like that. Rebooted, cleaned, re-greased, repacked, all that crap. Axle. Now, the hardest part, reinstalling it and putting the whole knuckle back together, putting everything back together, and then of course swapping the rotor, and that'll be it for this part of it. And then right after that, we roll into the timing belt, the big boy, which isn't really so big, but you'll see. And there it is, fully complete. Rotors, axle boots, cleaning on both sides, all the way done. Side note, when you put it back together, don't put the axle in before, or don't bolt the axle down before tightening this or getting the bolt through, mainly because you can't. And if you can, take it back apart and do it again, because you probably messed something up. But that's it for this part. Next, the big boy job, RB26 timing belt.